What is going on, everybody? Before we get started, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone for we have blown past 300 subscribers while I've been away, and that has been super cool to see. So thank you for watching and commenting, and I'm glad that everyone's finding my videos helpful. Today we're going to be talking about resistance stacking, resistance shredding, and why if you've watched any video that talks about how you get diminishing returns for stacking resistances, you've probably been misled. I know when I was first starting to learn Deadlock, I would watch tutorials and stuff, and everybody would say, oh, you don't want to stack a bunch of these stats because they have diminishing returns. And it's easy to see why you would think that, because if you go into the game and you buy a 30% resistance item, and then you stack it with another 30% resistance item, you don't get 60% resistance, you get 49%. So surely that means that you're getting less value for your souls, right? Wrong. The reason the percentage displayed is different is because the percentage the game is displaying is based off of your normal HP, whereas the percentage that actually matters is based off your effective HP. And when you look at your effective HP, we see that rather than getting diminishing returns, we actually get a compounding effect on the HP that you get from stacking resistances. To illustrate this, imagine we have $1,000 that we want to invest. If we invest the money and it grows 30%, we'll have $1,300. If we invest that money and it grows another 30%, we'll have $1,690. That's an extra $90 compared to what we would have if we took two separate instances of investing the $1,000 with 30% interest, because the money compounds on itself. And this is the same effect that we get with effective HP. To keep the math simple, let's look at another example. When we're talking about resistances, it's usually easier to visualize the damage you're taking rather than the resistance that you're building. So here you are as Victor, and imagine a Grey Talon shoots you with a power shot, dealing 100 damage. If you have 50% resist, you're only taking 50 damage. This means that 50% resist gives you a health efficiency multiplier of 2, because it makes every hit point that you have worth twice as much. Now let's say that you buy another item that gives another 50% resist. In-game, when you add those two items together, the resulting percentage will be 75%, since the second item is the only impacting the remaining damage that you have left to take. So you might think, oh, the second item is only half as effective, right? But that is not correct. The important thing to know is that the health efficiency multiplier never changes, so the second item also gives a multiplier of 2. This means your total health efficiency multiplier is 4. The key takeaway here is that every time you half the remaining damage, you are doubling your effective HP. So the more resistance that you stack, the more effective each percentage point actually becomes. So now you may be wondering, if stacking resistances is so good, why don't we see more high-level players doing it? And this is where resistance shred comes into play. Because if you have 0 resistance and an enemy gets minus 10% shred, they will make your effective HP only 0.9, or basically a 10% reduction. However, if you have 90% resistance and they use that same item for minus 10% resistance, they are effectively halving your HP, since they are doubling the amount of damage that you take from 10% to 20%. So shred items become exponentially more effective the more resistance someone has. So what does this mean in the grand scope of things? Resistance stacking is probably not as bad as you once may have thought, and if the enemy is not building shred items, it is the best way to defend yourself against them. Even against shred, with the compounding effect it has on effective HP, it's really not that bad. And side note, when it comes to bullet resistance, it's a little different because most gun characters don't actually build pure gun damage, but they build a mix of gun and spirit or hybrid damage. And this is through things like toxic bullets, Tesla bullets, afterburn, and that type of stuff. So typically I like to run things that slow down fire rate, and also plated armor is a really good thing. But specifically against gun damage, stacking bullet resistance is not always the optimal thing to do, unless you're going against a pure gun damage character. Someone maybe like Venator, Silver, just to name a couple. It can still be good against them. But that is going to do it for this video. If you found it helpful, let me know in the comments. For those of you who have been waiting on a Victor build update, I have been working hard at experimenting and running the math on all of the items in the game, and I almost have the build finished, which probably means that Yoshi is getting ready to drop another big update that changes the character completely, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you in the next one. Peace.